BBC Radio 1.
An aesthetic history of the 1975 with Matty from the 1975. Okay, first album, Black and White. So the album artwork is the box, just the neon box. So we wanted something really chic, we would call it, and simple. And the reason it was neon was a kind of 80s reference. It was kind of like, you know, I didn't want a hanging neon naff thing, but it was quite chic and stark. And that was kind of the album was kind of like an 80s teen movie. That was kind of what it was supposed to be. And then we had, every song had a photo taken by like George. My favorite one is the menswear one, which was just Han being passed out on the floor. It was a real photo. And then, so the first video was Facedown, and we did a video for Antichrist, we did a video for Woman, we did a video for The City, all black and white. We'd done a video for a song called Sex.
And she said, use your hands in my spare time. We got one thing in common, is this time I sail. She's got a boyfriend anyway.
When it had like 200 plays on YouTube, Sam, who had a t-shirt company at the time, sent me a message saying, do you want some t-shirts? And I thought, oh, these are really cool. We became friends, and then I went to hang out with him in Norwich. We started our relationship. That's where we came up with the box. I think we kind of nicked it from Chanel. We wanted something to look more like a brand than a band. Songwriter. First time we went into colour, controversially, was on the new video for Sex that we did with my mate Adam. And then we have the girls video.
Everything feels totally wrong. It's too...
I mean,
it's so pop.
We're not a pop band.
We're not a pop band, and it feels like a really pop video. The whole scenario is not really what we're about. It needs to be black and white for a start.
But that was a bit of a joke. That was kind of play on, you know, what people maybe wanted us to be at that time or something. And I think that we were taking the mick out of being a kind of sexually desired band. And I think that we were playing around with the idea that it was all a bit silly and it was all a bit, you know, daft, and all of the pop bands that were holding up the spaces that we were holding up at the time was kind of doing those kind of things. We went back to black and white after that, but that was just kind of just burst into color. And then the whole black and white thing, there was so much aesthetic identity with the box and the font and the feeling and the music that the black and white thing kind of felt like it kind of had to change. So then when we went to I Like It When You Sleep, it was because, the reason it was pink was because after we finished touring the first album, I would go on like Tumblr and stuff like that and see what the fans were doing now that they were bored, because they didn't have any new visual information because we weren't in a cycle or whatever. And they'd started colouring everything pink. It seemed to be their colour choice. So we kept the same thing where we had a visual image for every song. This time it was a neon sign in a different place. So the letters was when I started kind of collecting typewriters. I became obsessed with the idea of art making people feel personally addressed. From my history of like growing up with video games that had like Easter eggs, you know, books or music with kind of subtext and layers, having the internet and presenting such a kind of analog form, you know, and something that felt really personal was just interesting. So I drew all of that and I kind of just typed it up on my typewriter, and then it became almost the vehicle for me to earnestly address people. Because, you know, a tweet or a this or a that will get listened to a certain extent, but I know that the letters hold a certain, I don't know, they're more distinguished. I'll do another letter for notes, I imagine, to try and explain. I suppose it's also me trying to explain where I'm at. I Like It When You Sleep just became this kind of like dreamy, pink-hued, kind of filtered reality. It was very of the time, really, because that's when Instagram was very much like that. It was very much like filter your stuff, curate your kind of stuff. And now it's a bit more deconstructed and raw, which I think we are like now. You know, I wanted to work with Diane Martel because I loved her, and it was really exciting. She's a mad presence to have around you. So that was really inspiring.
Reading about yourself on a plane, fame for a change. Caught up in fashion, car crashing in passion, bag of bash for passion. You got a beautiful face, but got nothing to say.
Just, you I think that the visual element is really important to me because I'm so into music. I think it's trendy to say that you have like synesthesia or whatever, but I definitely have like a visual paradigm that goes along with making records. And once I kind of commit to that in my head, it kind of has to go out there. So, but I mean, I like it when you sleep went everywhere. It went into like, somebody else and stuff like that. But there was this kind of neon pink that kind of defined that era. I think that like being meta or being self-referential is always a natural conclusion of just being so consumed by the detail of everything. So you're always noticing kind of intellectual inconsistencies or hypocrisies or stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So I think that it was a reference to those kind of ideas. We don't have producers work on our records anymore just because it would take up more time. It wouldn't be an efficient thing to do. I still use directors because, as me, I've got a million things to do as well. I just come up with the ideas, and I've made very lucky to make a lot of director friends along the way. And then I just get them to do it now. I've kind of got like my handful of people now, I think, that I use. I'm not giving it up again. The live show started to become a bit more of a hub of kind of information. So it would be the ultimate 1975 reference and statement. That was the idea. And it very much is now. But on I Like When You Sleep, it was the first time our show was colourful. It was the first time our show was in the music videos, and the music videos was in the show, using the references from the sound and stuff like that. And, that was funny. Yeah, the first time it all started to become like a world, you know what I mean? And like a very self-referential kind of thing. But people thought that it was like hacked or like, why would we want to do that? But like, it's because it's funny. That was just a reference to David Lynch. I think that because that is so peculiar, that piece of film, it's almost like purposefully odd. By the time I'd finished somebody else, it was really confusing me. And I think I just wanted something really, really confusing and intense at the beginning. And I needed a seam from the last video to the next one. So I come in from the Change of Heart video as a clown. So I kind of, because I'm like, get wet in the last video, and then I come in wet and then get changed and leave. Yeah, again, with the whole tying it in meta kind of thing. Clowns are a bit of a motif. I think it's about like performance, and I think it's about like safety. That I have not felt more comfortable in my life than making the Change of Heart video when I was like in a costume, because you lose that self-awareness because you don't feel like yourself. So I get a real freedom in kind of the idea of character. I try to be so sincere in my work. I can't do that and then go out and kind of have that removed sense of things. So I only get to play characters at certain times. So music videos is where it happens. So I really actually enjoy them. And then we kind of went into this Baroque kind of... I'm actually in that photo, you can't really see, but I'm on the right-hand side texting as a little homage to A Brief Inquiry. Oh, they're coming. The phones are coming. Little Easter eggs. But it's because when I was a kid and I was playing video games, I'd be playing like Echo the Dolphin, and then the 1000th time I'd play it, I'd jump at a particular time and press something, and I'd go into a different world where programmers would do that. They would put little Easter eggs, and I felt like it was talking to me. It's more like a natural conclusion that in the way that our records sound mental or whatever, it's only because we don't want to be bored, and we make music all the time, so they have to sound mental to not be bored. I make artwork all the time. Like I don't want to be bored, so I make it fun. And then we go into music for cars / A Brief Inquiry. You know, I'd been to like rehab and stuff. Give Yourself a Try video was the first time I'd like performed in like 18 months. There's this whole kind of like performance of reinvention that felt really weird. I didn't really know where I was at. I didn't really know. I just knew that I'd made my best record. So I didn't want to worry about how to present it too much. I wanted it to be clinical. So it was very raw. I think that, you know, I love like art and typography. So the Swiss Masters is what that kind of looks like. It wasn't really referencing anything more. It was a kind of like a clean, modern deconstruction of what was happening. Yeah, Fripp and Eno. Was it Pussyfooting, No Pussyfooting or whatever? Yeah. Brian Eno's kind of in all popular music, but he's very much in our kind of DNA. And I think that it was a reference to that performance scene, is a direct reference to that. But I'm very lucky as well because I'm so self-referential and I'm so obsessed with references. And when I do an interview, I'll reference a million things a minute. I kind of get away with referencing other people's art because people kind of know what I'm doing. They don't think I'm just copying because why would I copy? I'm so obsessed with going, look at, you know, how this guy, you know.
Irony's okay, I suppose. Culture is to blame. Try and mask your pain in the most postmodern way. You lack substance when you say something like.
Listen, Sam is a monster now, you know, like we've gotten so much better at what we do and we really share a language. So very seldom will Sam send me something and I'm like, no. You know, me and Sam, like we do and Jamie and Ed, we do very little. Most things are first, second drafts. Not because we're genius, but because like this is what we've been doing for a long time. And like, I really trust Sam's eye because he knows exactly who I am. We lived with each other for like 3 years. We share a dog, you know, so we share an aesthetic as well. Yeah, so Notes on a Conditional Form is now, I think, a deconstruction of the already deconstructed. So we're getting into like fabric and material and texture. The 1975 is me channeling what I'm into, interpreting what I'm into, songs that I'm into most of the time. But like, if you saw my house, you'd really understand Notes on a Conditional Form. Do you know what I mean? Because it's all very raw, very kind of like wabi-sabi. I've got that tattooed in my mouth. But it's gone because it fades, which is the idea of wabi-sabi. And you know why I did that? Because I'm a You're going to have to bleep that out.